usually people think I look as young as I sound. Oh, my dog wants to speak.
Probably he wants to join us.
My dog, yeah, Elvis, come here. People think that I look really young. So usually I think people hear the voice and they see how I look and they think that it matches up. But yes, I am not a teenager anymore, unfortunately. Although I still act like one most of the time. So I think growing up, I listened to a lot of old soul. So I listened to Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson and Otis Redding and Bill Withers and Earth, Wind and Fire. And then, you know, as I grew up, I was also listening to Bruno Mars and John Legend. And
Right.
So, I mean, I think that, you know, not so much in trying to mimic people, but I'm sure all of those influences probably found their way into the way that I sing. You know, I remember I had a vocal coach when I was about 16, and he had me go and listen to, and I was listening to these people on the radio, but he had me study their voices. So I studied like Usher and Chris Brown and a guy named Smokey Norfolk, who's a soul singer from the church, and studied the way that, and Donny Hathaway and these kind of old soul singers, because that's what I loved and I gravitated towards. And he kind of gave me this mix of these new R&B singers, and I was listening to these old soul singers, and that kind of helped me formulate my voice and find my voice through that training of just listening to so many different other vocals and styles of vocal. And I think they all ended up playing a part in the voice that I have today. So If You're Meant to Come Back, it was a song that I wrote with 3 friends of mine in London, or in the outskirts of London. So I went over to my friend's house, and this was our first session. We were just meeting for the first time. And one of the guys had just gotten back together with his ex-girlfriend. So we were talking about that. He said, and I had just broken up with my ex. And so he said, you know, I sat her down and we had lunch and I gave her this little speech. And the speech was, I don't know where we're going to be in the future, but I know that I'll be waiting for you. So I'll let you go and fill whatever hole you're trying to fill. And if you're meant to come back to me, then you will. And I turned to him, I was like, dude, have you ever thought about writing that as a song? We have to write that song. He's like, no, I never thought of that. And so—
Were you drinking while you're giving that speech?
He might have been, I don't know. But he, you know, so I was pulling off of my experiences with my ex and feeling the same way about letting her go. And he was pulling off of his experiences about having this girl come back to him. And he actually kept talking about her, and her name is Emily. So I'd ask him questions, and he'd say, Emily this, Emily that. We wrote the whole song, and at the end of the song, I said, so this Emily chick, who is she? What does she do? And he goes, oh, Emily Warren. She's a songwriter. I go, Emily Warren? Like the girl who wrote New Rules for Dua Lipa, who I also I went to college with her. So she's a friend of mine. And the song that we were writing from his perspective was about her. And I knew her because we were friends in college. And I had no idea that I was writing this song that was ultimately about her. So it was this weird full circle moment. And she's awesome. She's a prolific songwriter and you know, has many, many credits. But it was very odd to be at the end realizing that I was writing a song from his perspective about somebody that I knew. But, you know, the interesting thing about the song, and the reason that I felt like it was so important to get the message out now, is because when I listen to it now, it's not just about my ex-girlfriend or his current girlfriend or, you know, a love that's been lost. This song is saying that we don't know what the future holds, you know, but we're all in this kind of anxious state, right? And this song is kind of like, it's kind of like an emotional roller coaster, right? It's a very emotional song, but at the end of the song, there's this hope there's this trust that the universe is going to bring us all back together. And this trust that that person that you've lost, or that friend that you can't see, or even that love that you don't have anymore that has left you, if it's meant to come back to you, then it will. And I believe that we're all meant to come back together. And that love and that goodness and those friends and those people that we can't see right now, we're meant to come back together, and we will. And that's why I felt like that message of hope was such an important one to share now while we're in this crazy pandemic. Hopefully, and that's what I'm trying to do. I mean, that's really why I write music. I mean, and that's what I love about what I do, is affecting other people emotionally. And whether that's, you know, getting them to reflect on a past love, or be hopeful, or cry, or scream, or jump up and dance, that's really why I make music, is to affect people emotionally. So that's what I try to do every time. I was familiar with their music, but not like intimately familiar with their music. So like I knew the songs, but I didn't necessarily know all of the songs were theirs. And then, I mean, that was the crazy thing, is, you know, watching their concert for the first time, you know, you realize how these songs have kind of guided even me. And I wasn't even born at the time when they were big. These songs still are like the playlist of our lives. So that was such a cool full circle moment. But before that, I was familiar with the songs, but I wasn't super familiar with them. I obviously had heard the name before, but I didn't grow up listening to that music in the sense of like knowing who they were. But I grew up listening to the music because it was everywhere around me. How did I get the gig? I don't know how I got the gig. I guess I must have been on a short list that they chose from, of artists that were looking to work as their opener. So I think I had a booking agent, and I think that my booking agent submitted me, and they picked me. They liked what I did, so they picked me to open for them. And I was absolutely honored, and they're really great guys. It was really a fun experience touring with them. Yeah, you know, so I grew up listening to old soul music. I grew up listening to Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, James Brown, Otis Redding, Bill Withers, Aretha Franklin, Whitney Houston, and then more contemporarily, I listened to Maroon 5, and I think I said Bruno, and John Legend, and One Republic, Ryan Tedder. You know, those were all big influences for me. You know, and also like legends like Elton John and Queen. And so, I mean, I actually didn't grow up listening to any electronic music, really. You know, so it's funny that I kind of fell into that world a little bit. But the electronic scene has really embraced singer-songwriters and lyrics and great soaring melodies, and I think that's why the matchup between me and Kygo was made, and why I was on call for, you know, writing for people like Armin van Buuren and other big DJs, and you know, that's kind of where the crossover happened for me. But for me, musically, it was always about old soul music and R&B and great vocals. I was always really attracted to that growing up. How does it feel now being an artist versus when I was a songwriter?
Yeah.
So it's funny. I like writing songs for other people. I like writing songs in general, but I love performing. I love performing my songs. I love singing my songs. I love, you know, my favorite part is hearing how people are influenced by my songs, and the letters that I get on Instagram where, you know, people will say, "Oh my God, I heard your song, you know, Getting Closer, and I just broke up with my ex." And, you know, someone wrote me, they said they just broke up with their ex and they had a drinking problem, and my song helped them get sober and find their way back to their ex. And it was like mind blowing to me that I was getting letters of people who were that affected by the music that I was putting out into the world, which is, I mean, that's really the most gratifying part of what I do. And I don't get that as much if it's a song that I write that someone else sings, like Vente Pa' Ca, Ricky Martin and Maluma, I've never had anybody reach out to me and be like, oh my God, that song saved my life. I'm proud of it. I love it. But I always felt like as a songwriter, I always kind of felt like when I was in a session with an artist, I always kind of felt like I was in the wrong chair, if you know what I mean. Like I wanted to be in the artist chair. I wanted to be, and I love exploring other people's stories. I love hearing about other people and crafting their feelings into a piece. But at the end of the day, I was always writing from my own personal experience anyway. So I'm just so grateful now that I get to do both. But my passion and my love in life is singing my own songs and performing and being an artist. And I'm so grateful that people want to hear what I have to say. Oh, stargazing. So I wrote the song. I came in, I had this session with two friends of mine in Los Angeles, a guy named Jamie Hartman and Stuart Crichton. And I had these lyrics that I'd written out, and somewhere in the lyric was the word stargazing. And Jamie turned around when he heard the word and was like, we're writing that song. We're writing this. We're going to call it stargazing. We're going to write that song. So we wrote the song, me, Stuart, and Jamie. It was like a piano. It was a piano thing. So it was like, and I will still be here, stargazing. I still look up, looking for love. It's just like me and a piano. And so that got sent to Kygo on a Monday. On Tuesday, he had us back a version of it. And by Friday of that week, he heard it on a Monday. We sent him the stems of just my piano vocal on Tuesday. On Wednesday, he sent us back a version of it. And by Friday, it was a confirmed single. And it came out 2 months later. In those 2 months, the label actually tried to get a bigger artist on it. Because at the time, I was just a songwriter. And I wanted to be an artist. I've always wanted to be an artist. And pull a move like a Bruno Mars or a Julia Michaels or even a John Legend. They all wrote for other people first before becoming artists themselves. That was always my plan, was to write my way into being an artist. And so stargazing kind of gave me the opportunity to do that. But in the 2 months before it came out, the label tried to find a bigger artist to put on the record because they hoped that would help it sell more records. And it was actually Kygo who stood up to the label and said, no, I want Justin's voice. That's authentic. He wrote it. That's the art I want to put out. So his voice is going to stay on it. And that's how I ended up writing and then being the featured vocalist on Stargazing. The song to me, also about a different ex, the song to me was about kind of a life philosophy that I have, which is I'm not going to turn myself off to experiencing love and to putting myself out there just because I've been hurt. So the song is the idea that I will still be here stargazing. I still look up for love, is the idea that not that I'm going to wait for you, although that was also part of it. It's the idea that I still believe in love. I still am going to look for love, and I'm going to keep myself open to finding love, even though I've been hurt, even though it's going to be hard, and even though I know I'll be hurt in the future, I will still be here looking for love. I love Nina. Oh my gosh. Nina is so funny. I told her when the song came out, I was like, the song Let It Be Me is what I would say to the person who I want to spend the rest of my life with. That's how the song was written, is, if I could figure out the perfect proposal song, what would it be? And it was Let It Be Me, for the good and the bad and the ugly and everything in between. I want to be there with you. Let it be me. So basically this is my proposal song to Nina Nesbitt now. But she's awesome, and she's so much fun and so sweet. And I was literally right before we got on, I was watching her Instagram. I don't know if you've seen her Instagram, but she always posts the funniest things on her Instagram. Right now she's doing a sample pack, and she's like, you'd have to watch it, but she's like compressing diarrhea noises, and she's just so funny. But she and I talk all the time, and we've written some other things together. And I really, she's an amazing voice and an amazing person, and I really want to see her, succeed on a massive level. That it was on that it was number one on the radio charts, right? Am I right in that, Chen and Denise? Right?
Yeah, crossover station. Yeah.
Okay, I had no idea. No one told me. So I finally found out because Chen and Denise told me a couple of weeks ago when I was talking to them, and I mean, it makes me feel so good. I had no idea. And so now I have to come back. I have to come to the Philippines. But it makes me feel great. I'm just, honestly, I'm so grateful that people are listening to my music, because I spent so many years dreaming about people wanting to listen to my music and hearing my music and hearing my voice and hearing the message. And, I'm just so grateful that people are listening. And it makes me feel great.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh yeah, I'm learning German. I built a bike with my dad, but we haven't ridden them. I've been writing 5 days a week. Every weekday I'm writing. I think it's been a really interesting quarantine. I'm really blessed. I've got a lovely family, and I can work from home, and I have a little studio in the back, and I have this great piano. It's really hard to stay positive, and it's really hard to feel like you're making real progress and you're moving your life forward. And I have really, even though I'm super blessed and I'm so grateful and fortunate to have all the things that I have, I've been really struggling lately to not be anxious and not get down on myself and not feel purposelessness. And I'm sure that, everybody else around the world is feeling similar things. And I feel really bad for people around the world who are having trouble struggling with this and not being able to get out of it. So I think this, I just want, instead of kind of like saying, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and I've picked up this hobby, and kind of social media-izing the good parts of all the great things that I'm doing in quarantine. The honest truth is, the reality is, most of the time in quarantine, I'm just trying to figure out how to make sure that I'm staying happy and positive and okay. And I think I've been doing a pretty good job of it. But it's definitely, especially with all the unrest in America and the racism that we're fighting and the injustice that's being fought here, so much of my time is spent trying to listen and trying to be a good ally and trying to stay positive and trying to do the right thing and be the right thing. And so I hope that everybody out there struggling with feeling okay during the quarantine, can know that it's really hard and everybody else is also struggling. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing during quarantine. I built a bike, trying to stay positive, trying to listen and be a good ally to fight social injustice. Well, I think that travel is going to be difficult and concerts are going to be difficult till mid-2021. That would be my prediction. I do have some things scheduled later this year that we're going to see if they go through or not. I anticipate a lot of them getting canceled. I think that my plan right now is to continue to release music. You know, I'll probably release something new in August. And then I'm gearing up to release an EP at the end of the year. And then, you know, hopefully by early 2021, if we're going to be positive about it, I'm hoping I can get back on the road. I'm contemplating, because I have this immune deficiency, which I don't fight antibodies to fight off upper respiratory diseases very well. And I do this therapy where I inject fluids into my body, medicine into my body through 4 sites through a tube. It's really gruesome. But so I have this immune deficiency, which is stopping me from going out into the world at all, because Corona is very, very scary to me. If I get this, I would probably have major, major complications. So until we've really solved the issue, for me, I'm going to stay put and try to stay as safe as I can. You know, and if I could, even maybe move to a safer place, you know, if the opportunity arises. So for me, my plans are to keep releasing music and hope that this pandemic ends sooner rather than later, and encourage everybody to wear a mask. I gotta say, I have sung Stargazing in Kygo concerts, in my own concerts. I've probably sung that thing 400 to 500 times. I'm never tired of it. Not once. Not once have I ever been on stage and went, I don't want to do this one tonight. I love it. I don't get tired of, I don't know. I don't think I get tired of many of them. I don't get tired of doing If You're Meant to Come Back. It's a newer one, so I guess that might be the reason. But also, I love those slower ballads. Those are very fun for me to do. I don't get tired of Bigger Than, although sometimes, because Bigger Than is very high, I get tired after Bigger Than. You know, but you know, I'm lucky. I don't really get tired of most of the songs. I enjoy performing the songs. There's a lot of inspiration in just being able to write, you know, because that's really the only outlet I have. I can't perform, you know, other than this, which is lovely, talking about the music and doing press and meeting you guys, which, by the way, thank you all for coming and wanting to talk.
Our pleasure.
Thank you. You know, it's definitely a lot of time with my thoughts, but and reflecting on past experiences. But for me, you know, I really thrive off of writing about what I'm experiencing in life. And someone the other day, I had a bit of a writer's block is a little bit of a harsh term, because I don't feel like I ever really get writer's block. But I felt like a lot of the stuff that I was writing just wasn't that interesting and wasn't that good enough. And my friend, I was talking to a friend of mine, he's like, well, maybe you're just overwriting. You just need to take a break. And I was like, no, I'm not overwriting. I'm writing less than I used to when I was just a songwriter and I would do 2 sessions a day, 8 days a week, you know? So, and I always found stuff to write about. I never felt like, you know, lost in the sauce, so to speak. And I came to the conclusion, it's not that I'm overwriting, it's that I'm underliving. It's the idea that even when I'm driving down the street in Los Angeles, I'm seeing billboards and I'm having relationships and I'm talking to people and I'm seeing things and I'm getting stimulized by all of these different things coming at me. And here it's, you know, although lovely, it's the same view, it's the same food, it's the same, like I'm not going anywhere. So I'm in the same loop every day of what I'm doing and who I'm talking to and who I'm seeing. So it's harder to get, you know, outside of television shows, of which I've watched too many, it's harder to get, I think, as inspired on a basic level for me than it is when I'm living my life and I'm in the mix of things. But it also cuts both ways because it gives me more time to kind of dive a little bit deeper into myself and figure out how I'm feeling and how I want to say some of those things. So it kind of is in waves a little bit. And the second question was, will it spark a renaissance? Or how am I? What was the second part of that question? Did I answer it? I don't know if I answered it.
Yeah, you answered my questions.
Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think there'll be some great music that comes out of this. But I also think that it's such a weird time. It's such a difficult time. Who knows if music that comes out now is going to have staying power? Who knows if, it just remains to be seen. Maybe this will be a musical renaissance and there'll be all this great stuff. And maybe people are just going to be concerned with other things. And we'll see. There's definitely a lot of important things. Only time will tell, and there's a lot of important things going on in the world right now that I know I'm specifically trying to give some of my time away from music to focus on and see how I can change and how I can, help move the needle forward, whether that's coronavirus or racial justice. I've definitely spent more time on that recently than I ever have before, and rightfully so. So we'll see where people put their energy.
Right.
Yes, I have it's a good little crew. I have not met any of the other talented Justins, but I would if they would like to meet me, I would be open to it. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people I would love to collaborate with. Miguel and I have talked about doing something. I'd love to collaborate with, Ariana Grande or Dua Lipa, or Lizzo. I would love to do something with Lizzo. That would be amazing. There are definitely some other DJ collaborations I'll probably end up doing. I have a couple of different things in the pipeline. We'll see what comes out and comes to fruition. It's always kind of a guessing game until it happens. But I'd love to work with Bruno Mars. I am such a huge fan. I'd love to work with Ryan Tedder. Who else would I love to work with? Oh, I'm doing something with, I just wrote a song for Michael Bolton, which was really fun. Yeah, he's a lovely dude. He's like the wise elder of pop music. So it's been really fun.
How are we supposed to live without Michael Bolton?
We hopefully never will have to. He is such a stand-up, lovely guy. But we've had fun. We've had fun together, and I'm pretty confident that at some point the world will hear what Michael and I did. Yeah, it's just a question of when, but it's great. I'm really excited about it. Oh, so many things. Music is so many things. Music to me is connection. Music to me is language and power and my livelihood, and music to me is the only thing that I knew I had to do. I grew up, and when I was growing up, I struggled for a while as a songwriter, and I struggled because it's a really difficult industry, and I was struggling to get into rooms, and I was struggling to get cuts, and what I always really wanted to do was be an artist. So, I remember going to labels and getting turned down, people saying, well, you're not ready yet. We just, let's just buy these songs off of you and put them on these Instagram kids. But, it was, music was something that when I was growing up, I knew that I wouldn't be happy doing anything else. And, my parents would be like, well, why don't you do this? And even when I was struggling to be an artist or to be a songwriter, my parents were kind of like, they were always supportive, but they were like, how long are you going to give it? It's not working yet. And I remember being like, I can't give up. I can't give up because I know that I will be unhappy if I'm not doing music. I could do other things. I could go and, sell real estate. I love real estate for some reason. But ultimately, I wouldn't be happy selling real estate because I'd miss music. And I knew that that's what I had to do for my happiness. So for me, music is my happiness. And the only thing at the end of the day that would ever really make me truly happy. Oh, man. I was actually talking to Michael. Hey, be quiet. I was talking to Michael about writing a Christmas song. I would love to do a Christmas song. I actually believe that one of the greatest songs in the world of all time is All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey. Name a song that everybody in the world knows, no matter who you are, that the majority of the world, well, some people might hate it, but like the majority of the world loves and has probably made more money than any other song on the planet, is probably Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. So I rate that as like one of the best songs of all time. So I love
what kind of Christmas song will you be doing, just in case? A happy Christmas song, a sad Christmas song?
It's a lonely Christmas. I would probably do a happy Christmas song. I think happy Christmas. Well, one time I had the idea with some friends to write a song called Drunk Christmas. And it was going to be about like, I have nobody, so it's going to be a drunk Christmas. But we didn't end up writing it because we didn't think it was going to be a very good idea.
We're ready for that.
Right? Drunk Christmas. Let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you.